Hey YouTube, it's Wes. Hope you guys are doing awesome and had a good week. It is so good to be back with you today. In this video, we are going to dive into the future of the Pi ecosystem. Now, I know that sounds like monumental, and to some degree, it really is. Like, whoa, like what the future of Pi is going to look like? That sounds almost prophetic. Well, definitely not prophetic. Let's not go there. We're sourcing in this video the latest information from the core team around the Pi Hackathon apps, the apps that they would like to see the community build. And the reason that that is so important is there's a lot of information we can glean on that, a lot of information about where the future of Pi is going and why I think it's important for you and me to understand what the future is really going to look like for this awesome platform. You definitely don't want to miss that. We're covering this and a whole bunch more coming right up. Hey friends, Wes Spencer here. Thank you so much for joining as we talk about the future of the Pi ecosystem. If this is your first time finding this video, the YouTube almighty algorithm has sent me to you or you to me, however you want to say it. Welcome. I am so glad you're here. You can hit subscribe and definitely hit the bell icon, hit the like button. All of those things go a long way on this channel. And speaking of this channel, like we're getting closer and closer to 100K subs. Like that's kind of incredible to me. I never thought that that would happen when I started this channel. Never, well, not even a dream of mine, and really exciting to see that continue to happen. That's all thanks to you guys. I appreciate you so much giving me time and attention. There's a lot of ways you could spend your time each day, and to spend some of it with me really does mean a whole heck of a lot. Speaking of time, you know, it's interesting to see really too how the Pi ecosystem has really grown. I've been covering Pi for a really long time. I was one of the very first creators that really kind of zoomed in on it. And if you don't know a lot about me, I'm an entrepreneur. I've built, bought, sold companies. It's what I do. I love doing it. I'm not a full-time YouTuber, which is why I don't do things like moon pumping on this channel and telling you, hey, this crypto is going to make you a millionaire in 2021. I don't do that because it's not my style and I have no incentive to do any of that. I just share what I'm passionate about. And one thing that's interesting about Pi, I have gone from the early days of being really skeptical. And I get it. I understand how anybody would be skeptical about Pi. I mean, think about it. If you look at its journey, it's done some interesting things. It's one of the only technologies that I know in the crypto space that's built a market and users first and then having the technology catch up second. Also, the viral nature of referral codes, right? People are going to spam those codes all over. They even spam them here on my channel, and I'm okay with that, right? Like, it doesn't bother me, but we see those things as well. And maybe even initially in the early days, a lack of a roadmap and the core team was not very public. Anybody that jumps into Pi, even back then or even now, that sort of looks at it and says, I'm not sure I understand and really trust this thing, I totally understand. But for me personally, I've seen the journey, I've talked to the core team, I know them, and it's been good to see where the direction of Pi has gone over this time because I think it holds a lot of promise. And that's even evidenced in the fact you can see its journey. We now have a real operational blockchain. I've got videos where I've shown you the blockchain. Now it's still in testnet, right? But it is actually working. It's doing something. We're seeing the hackathon apps come to life and people developing some amazing things. And I think all of that is boding well for the future of Pi. But hear me, it doesn't mean that Pi is going to be successful. They have competitors. They have a long way to go to deliver on the roadmap. There is no guarantee of success. And so personally, I'm on this journey. I'm just going to see where it goes. And I hope you are too. I think it's a very innovative and interesting idea in how they're approaching and tackling some of the challenges that exist in the crypto space. And if you want to know some of those challenges, go watch my other Pi videos. I cover a lot of that. So let's jump into today's news. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share out my screen. And this right here is this is from Crypto Nick. I actually don't know this person, but they copied and pasted the core team's note on the last app release of the future of what's happening in the hackathon world. And so I'm just going to use his website. I'll put a link in the description down below because he basically copied and pasted all of this for us to make life easy. So as we scroll down, here's what the core team has done. They have split everything into high priority apps, like things on the back end that need to happen for the future of Pi to be successful, and then also the community focused apps. And so we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to split this series into two different videos. The first one, which we're going to cover today, is these high priority apps, the back end stuff that's really critical to make Pi successful. And then the second thing that we're going to do in the second video is we're going to dive in more into the community focused apps, and we'll take a look at some of the vision that the core team has for the things that you and I will use on a daily basis. So here's what we're going to get started with first. We're going to talk about the KYC app. Now, look, if there's been a source of contention, it's been in the KYC ecosystem, right? Initially, there was no KYC. Eventually, it came out. It was using Yoti. It's still using Yoti today, but Yoti is not a scalable platform for the core team. It costs about $1 per KYC check. And so a lot of people, are not going to want to pay that on their own. And on top of that, the core team has only pre-purchased a certain number of Yoti registrations. And so most of us, including yours truly, have never gone through the KYC process. Now, in full disclosure, I did get the opportunity to go through the KYC process. I was invited, but I missed it because I was stacked up on calls for that day. And by the time I finally got back to it, it had expired. And so I am just like you. If you're sitting here and you're worried, like, I haven't got my KYC, what the heck am I supposed to do? Am I going to get my pie? Rest assured, the core team has said very, very clearly that KYC is coming, and there will be multiple ways that this can happen. And I have even covered a lot of those future possibilities as well on this channel. So just go back and watch some of my other pie videos, and you'll see where I cover a lot of that. But let's start with this. KYC is important because of the mechanism of Pi itself. See, Pi was built upon Stellar. If you don't know anything about Stellar, it's an open source technology. I've covered Stellar a good bit in this channel. I've covered the creator, Jed McCaleb, who has a rich and wide, varied background in crypto, including, if you haven't seen this video right here, the rise and fall of Mt. Gox, Jed McCaleb even had a part to play, a chapter in that story as well. He's incredible. Anyway, he created Stellar. And Pi is based upon Stellar. And Stellar is what's called a Byzantine federated trust crypto. In other words, Stellar is about proof of consensus. And proof of consensus requires trust circles. And trust circles require trust. And that trust, we have to have some way to initiate that trust. I need to know that there's one person mining Pi, or really should say carving Pi out each day, and there's not one person with like 50 phones doing it all together, because that breaks the ecosystem. It breaks trust. It breaks how the entire reserving of Pi works. And so at some point, every user in the world of Pi is going to have to go through a KYC process. But as I said, it brings up a lot of challenges for us because, as you see here, they're looking for an open source platform that's country specific, and maybe even several of them that will allow KYC. Ideally, that's free, that's quick, speedy, and efficient. And this problem is not unique to Pi at all. Let me illustrate. Here is a platform. This is from Polkadot. And if you've ever, I haven't really covered Polkadot a lot on this channel. I really should. Give me some feedback if you guys want me to do a review on Polkadot. But they've gone through this same challenge. And they're talking about KYC, like decentralized KYC. And there's too much to say in this one video. I want to sum it up in this. When you are buying and selling on a centralized exchange like Gemini, Coinbase, Kraken, any number of these, Binance that are out there, you have to go through a KYC process for anti-money laundering laws, all of that kind of stuff. We know that. But not decentralized exchanges. I can go right to Pancake. I can go right to Uniswap or Feg Exchange or any of those that are out there, and I can do the same thing myself without having to go through a KYC process because they're decentralized. And so there's a lot of desire for the same thing to happen in the world of Pi. And the way that Polkadot is handling this, and you can check this out on your own, and I can do an additional video if you guys want, but they're actually using Kilt. Kilt is a blockchain that allows for proof of identities to be stored, or really should say like knowledge checks to be stored on a blockchain and then accessed in any sort of way. It's letting the user control their own data and their own identity of sorts, and that's how they're doing it. So if you're a Pi developer and you're thinking about developing some kind of KYC platform that allows for Pi users to go through that process, take a look at how Polkadot is doing it. Look at how the Kilt blockchain, and they're using Fractal as like the protocol to do it. Take a peek at that, and you may want to use something around it. So that's the very first one, the KYC app. There's going to need to be several of these that are out there. They're critical to be developed because we must authenticate one device to one user so that we can make sure that Pi is distributed evenly and fairly, I should say, to everybody in the ecosystem. So this is a huge challenge that needs to be solved. Second one is a DAO, or a decentralized autonomous organization. You see that there? Pi is not the first to have one. Pi is not the first to ask for one. The goal behind these DAOs is to give the capability and power back to the shareholders, people like you and me that are invested and hold Pi. See, the core team is always going to call the shots, right? They're always going to be the ones that ultimately decide the roadmap. But what they're telling us loud and clear is you as pioneers have a role to play. We want to take your input. We want to take your vision. This is something I learned at the companies I've created, is always take customer input very seriously. Even be religious about it, right? The things that they want to see, the things they want you to build. I could make a video at some point about how customer input has saved our companies that we've created. I can give you example after example of that. So a DAO is a pretty important part to all of this. And you can see, they want to weigh in the customer, the pioneer vision and input and allow voting. It's a lot like shareholder voting, right? When you hold stocks. And so I want to share a little bit about that. If you're curious to know more about what a DAO is, here's CoinMarketCap's explanation of it. We're not going to go through the whole thing. There will be a description. There will be a link in the description down below, and you can see everything you want to know about it. DAOs have been around since the early days of Ethereum, way back in 2016. And by the way, that one had a really shaky start with some vulnerabilities and some theft of Ethereum. But DAOs have proven to be a very good way, as you see right here, to allow some amount of governance by the members, the power to the people. And if you think about it, that's really been Satoshi's whole mission when he created Bitcoin in the very beginning, is to allow people like you and me to have independence and to have a say and to have autonomous ability to have, a weighing decision, to have a part to play in the vision of whatever the technology platform is. And so you can see more about what a DAO does. Oftentimes DAOs are all about, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing. Vote if you agree with this idea. And it just gives us the ability to make those decisions and have, like we said, a part to play. So if you want to see some more about this, go check out this article here from CoinMarketCap, and it'll describe, a whole lot more about DAOs. So that's all I'll say on that one. Now, the next one is a Wiki App. And I have a very strong opinion on this one. So I understand why they want a Wiki App. And here's why. There's a lot of disinformation that happens. There's a lot of confusion. Most of the questions that are asked by pioneers have already been asked by somebody else. And so a wiki is a powerful way for easy use for us to be able to share with someone, hey, this is the answer to this common question. It's a good way to disseminate emerging information to reduce confusion and help the entire community understand what's the authoritative answer on a question. So we need one. But here's the thing. Shocker, we already have one. Did you know that? Now it's decentralized and it's not owned by the core team, which I kind of like. But I'm going to show you my favorite one that's out there. This is Reddit's RPi network. There's a whole bunch of awesome mods that run this channel. This is not created and run and approved by the core team, but they have done their own work. And right here under their subreddit, you see right here is the Pi Wiki, and you see a ton of information, who the core team is, websites around it, official guides, who owns it. I mean, I can just go on and on about all this. Who is Yodi? We talked about this on the video already. So this is a very good, well-updated wiki that controls everything. And if I'm the core team, here's what I would do to prove to the rest of the community that we are all about the community itself. We're going to designate this as the official wiki. That's what I would do. Now, you might want to have a core team, asked to sit on side of be a mod here in the subreddit, or at least make sure there's an approval process so the core team can say, yeah, we disagree with that. But that's what I would do. I mean, it's already here. It's robust. Inside of this community, we already have 36,000 members, and maybe there's some other wikis that are out there, but this is the best one that I know of because it's honest, it's accurate, it's updated, it has all the key essentials required for a wiki. So here it is. That's what I would do. I think this one has already been answered. I think it's the information here is already here in front of us. Now, the next one is a bug tracker app. And this one really got me thinking. I really don't think that, in my opinion, we need the core team to develop its own unique app for this. See, we have this thing called GitHub. So I come from the SaaS world, the software as a service world, where we build web platforms to do awesome, amazing things. You use SaaS platforms all the time, things like Salesforce, things like I don't know, Reddit is an example if you pay for it. YouTube, all of these different kinds of SaaS, whether it's consumer, it's business focused, whichever it may be. And GitHub is at the center of almost all of it. Let me show you what GitHub is all about. GitHub is where we can post code, we can submit bugs, we can submit what's called pull requests, we can look at code repositories, all of this kind of stuff. And wouldn't you know it, the Pi core team uses GitHub. Here it is right here. This is actually for the Pi node itself. You can dive into this and you can take a look at some of the stuff that's in here. We're not going to do a deep dive into this GitHub repository itself, but here is Nick right here, one of the core founders right there in front of us. So we see it right here very clearly. Here it is. And personally, what I would do is I would use GitHub as the source for bug tracking. That way, when someone sees a bug, they just go right into GitHub and this is where they post it. This is the standard way of doing it. So definitely kind of confused on why they requested that, we have a bug tracker app. GitHub is a great way to go. And there are a lot of add-ons to GitHub to make things awesome. For example, here's Clubhouse. Now, this is not the social media network Clubhouse. This is, in fact, Clubhouse, I think, is even changing their name. Yeah, they're going to start calling it Shortcut because there's now two competing names, Clubhouse. Anyway, Clubhouse is all about project management, and this integrates directly in with GitHub. So you could even use this to say, hey, here's what the core team is developing on this sprint. These are the big things we're writing, and here are some of the bug requests that have been submitted and we're working on. So I think the combination of Clubhouse as an example, as a project management app running alongside GitHub, answers all of the things the core team wants to see right here in the bug tracker app. Now, lastly, and by far, I think most importantly, the ad network apps. If there is one thing on these high priority apps that give us a deep look into the future of Pi, this is the one. So when you think about a platform that has tens of millions of users, I know they're hoping to get into the hundreds of millions of users at some point, that commands a lot of power. Think about Facebook, think about Google. Any platform that has lots and lots and lots of users now has a lot of power through an ad network. And there's a lot that's been said around ad networks, right? How they mine our data, how they don't really treat us very seriously from a privacy perspective. But ad networks really drive everything. I mean, you are interacting with an ad network just by watching my YouTube videos. I have ads enabled and they're served through Google AdWords. And so it's a source of revenue. And I think Pi serves as a great opportunity based upon its huge user count and the economics of the Pi token itself to give us, or at least shouldn't say the token, the Pi crypto itself, it's not a token, to give us the capability to do some amazing things with ad networks. And I want to talk about this just kind of quickly. So if you're curious like what the big ad networks are, here is WebFX, and they talk about the largest ones, the big ones you already know. Google AdSense is by far the number one because Google, right? Number two, you'd probably guess it, is Facebook. And then you hit M Media, which many of you may not know of, but they're just a larger ad network that's out there. You have Apple as number four, Ad Knowledge, and so on and so forth. Even Yahoo still has one that's alive today. Isn't that interesting? So there is an opportunity for displacement here. And I think there's a lot of reasons why there may be some room for displacement because people don't typically like ads that mine our data. But we need to have the ability for content creators like me and others to be able to have a robust ecosystem where we can reach out to the masses on things. Whether it's me producing content, whether that's somebody that's selling some kind of widget or service and they need to make sure everyone knows about it, ad networks are critical. But I think Pi could do a lot with it. One of the things I think they could do a lot with it is privacy preserved capabilities that's crypto incentivized. In other words, why not use Pi itself to drive the ad mechanisms? So those that create content like yours truly could earn Pi through the content we create. Those that wish to purchase ads on the content I create could pay in Pi. It could be the actual communication mechanism to drive all of this. And we have a lighthouse for all of this. If you wonder how this might work, take a look at this right here, basic attention token. I've done a review on BAT. I think BAT is really interesting. I am a huge fan of BAT. I own a whole bunch of it. Do your own research. Don't just listen to me, of course. The entire community ecosystem around BAT is awesome. And it's all about privacy preserved ad incentivization, which is really awesome. So you can read more about this, but BAT itself is really taken off. It's got a wallet. They even have their own decentralized exchange, a decentralized web that's powered through Brave, their own browser. It's got creator awards. I'm a creator myself, so of these 1 million, you've got me that's here, and I actually earn BAT from people that will tip me, which is super cool. I'm one of the 543,000 YouTube creators that's in the BAT network. And so the reason I think this is awesome is this is a lighthouse for how I think Pi should do it. Should Pi just implement in BAT? I don't think so. I think they're going to want to create their own. I mean, they could certainly integrate BAT, but I think what they're going to do is create their own ad network. I think what they'll do is they will really take a page out of BAT's book and really understand how did it work, how was it incentivized, how was it built, and leverage that. And I think that is probably the right call. And I think it really shows the future of where Pi is going, and that ad incentivization is going to be a huge part through the Pi browser. And you even notice that they talk about the Pi browser. Right now, the Pi browser is not much to look at. Just a few apps that's in there, but the future of the Pi browser, I think, will be a complete user-designed facelift. It'll just be like a completely new user experience. I think it'll look clean and sharp, and many, if not most, of all of the Pi apps will run through the Pi browser. It will be the centralized contact point for the entire ecosystem. So, and of course, ads being delivered through it is natural, and that's where a lot of revenue will be generated from as well. So there you have it. Those are the high priority apps. In the next video, we're going to talk about the community focused apps, but this really gives us a good look into where Pi is going, the things they need to see built, the critical things before we get to mainnet that really have to be completed, things like KYC, hopefully some kind of DAO very close to mainnet being released, bug tracker, ad network. These are all things that really are necessary to make Pi robust, to make it profitable, to make it scalable for all of the users. And that gives us some great insights into the future. I'd love to know what you think. Are you a fan of the direction? Do you like these apps? Do you have one that you are building yourself that you'd like to get out there? Just share it with me in the comments below. I read every comment. I don't have time to respond to all of them, but I definitely read every single one and would love to know what your thoughts are on all of this as well. Thanks.